Hi everybody, this is Cassie at IDX Broker. Today we are going to do a webinar regarding lead generation and management on our Platinum system. Most of this will also apply to Light, although there will be a few features that would not be available on Light in the product that we're looking at today. My name is Cassie. I'm tech support here at IDX Broker, and I want to thank everybody for coming. A couple of ground rules is that if you have questions, just hit those into the question box that you see on the right side. In fact, it looks like I've already got a couple coming in. I will answer those as I can. If they're relevant to what we're looking at, I'll just answer them immediately for everybody. Otherwise, try and save them to the end. And if they aren't related to lead management at all and something specific to your account, just send that to help, H-E-L-P, at idxbroker.com. You can also contact us at 1-800-421-9668 and ask for the support team. And yes, I am recording this webinar. It is actually recording already right now, so I should have it online on our YouTube channel within a week. And yeah, feel free to just ask any questions you want to. If they're relevant, we'll answer them for everyone, and if not, we'll try to get to them after the webinar. I just want to check and make sure that y'all can hear me. If there is anybody attending that can hear me and is able to just type a confirmation into the question box, I would appreciate that. Cool. Thank you so much, Kathleen. All right, so we will go ahead and get started. So probably the first thing we want to look at is how leads are actually generated in the first place when you're using IDX Broker. There are a couple of tools built in that are there whether you have set up anything or not. These are just here by default. For example, anytime somebody runs a search and they go to a property, one of the options they'll have, so they'll have several options here. One is more info for every property. They can request information about that property. And you have some options about how this form is presented. We'll look at that shortly. But if they fill out one of these request forms for information about a listing, that's going to capture their information. It's going to email it to you or the assigned agent, depending on how your account is set up. And it's also going to capture them in the back end on this page here, which is leads in the main menu, leads in the sub-menu, and then manage. And that's just a list of your leads. Some other options that they will have available for signing up. If they ask to schedule a showing, and they can request that you show them a property in person, and that will also, of course, collect their information and send you an email. Some other ways that they can do it are by hitting Save Property. If somebody wants to save a property, they can. They want to keep a list of properties they're interested in. When they hit that Save Property, it'll put up this pop-up. It'll create an account for them. It'll send them a welcome email saying, thank you for signing up. Please confirm your email address. And the same thing will happen if they want to save a search. Save Search is probably one of the most useful lead generation tools, because what this will do is not only will it collect their information and send that to you, it will also give the visitor a benefit, because they then will get an email every day with new properties that match their saved search. So if they run a search for, say, Private Island, the city of Private Island, it will send them an email every day with new listings that come up in that city. And you can actually advertise this to your leads as a service. And there is one tool in the account. If we go to just our list of page links, which is under Designs and then Pages, there is a tool here called Email Update Sign Up. You'll see it in that first section of search pages. This is a great link to add to your site. You just add it, advertise it in an image on your home page or add it to your menu, even send it out in an email campaign. This advertises a service to the lead rather than, say, forcing them to register in order to view certain things. And it's just step one, they enter their search criteria. And then step two, they would enter their contact information. And so that right there is going to sign them up as a lead, create an account for them, notify you, and sign them up for email updates. Question regarding some of the different types of forms. No, actually, right now I don't have a way to put more information or schedule showing into a pop-up. That is a pretty valid feature request, though, and something that I will make a note of and put in with my development team. So we can definitely take a look at that. But no, right now it's not possible. Those do open as separate pages, those two particular forms. And so, yeah, the tool we're looking at right now is called Email Update Sign Up, and you'll see it in your search pages section. Most of you won't have as many links listed on this page as I do because I've created a lot of test pages in my demo account. So you won't see as many links here, but the one you're looking for is Email Update Sign Up, which you can rename if you want to. All right, so after a lead signs up, well, actually, look, there's another lead registration that we should look at first, and that is forcing them to register in order to view certain types of pages on your account. This is going to be under Leads in the main menu and Lead Registration Preferences in the submenu. And then you'll see Simple and Advanced here. Some of you may get Simple by default. Some of you may end up on Advanced if you've already viewed those advanced settings. If you're interested in these simple settings, which is basically just pick how conservative or aggressive you want to be with forced registration, we do have on our knowledge base an article that outlines exactly what each setting does. I apologize for the crazy scrolling. I am on an unfamiliar computer. But yes, so we do have an article up that goes to the different settings and exactly what they mean. So conservative is no force or request at all. Balanced is a non-recurring request, which means they can skip it if they want to, and then it forces after 5 details pages. And then aggressive is a request after 3, and then a force or request after 3 results pages, force after 3 details pages. And I'm sometimes asked, what is the difference? What is a results page? What is a details page? Results means the list of properties that you get right after running a search. Details is when you're looking at one individual property. And I'm just going to look over some of the questions coming in regarding this specifically. When you do the email update sign up, yes, that does create a saved search for the client. Usually you would want to let the client do that on their own. There's an easier way to do it if you wanted to for them, which we're going to look at when we go back to the lead management screen and look at our list of leads. And as far as changing that email update sign up text to something else, when displayed above the search results, that I might have to look into. But you do have the same kind of customization options with that page that you do with others as far as things like adding subheaders or that kind of thing. And that is going to be, if we wanted to do subheaders, I don't know that I want to get too much into that kind of customization, but if we do that sort of thing, it's actually designs, subheaders, and then from here you actually pick out the page you want, which in this case would be the one called Email Update Sign Up. So going back to forced registration, global registration rules is the tab we would want. So we would make sure we had advanced selected if we wanted to do something more fine-tuned than the preset options. So we would do advanced and then global registration rules. And this gives us some options here. So let's look at probably the most common setting that I see used and the one I usually end up recommending if somebody asks what's the absolute best setting to use. I would typically do details pages and do a forced registration after, 2 or 3 pages. One of the things that's nice about this is that the visitor can come to your website, they can run a search, they can see that you have the information that they want, and then after they've viewed a couple of properties, in order to continue, they have to enter their contact information. So at least, they at least know that you have the information they want before you're asking them for anything. And that seems to work really well for most people. If you want the absolute best results, you will want to experiment a little bit because it does vary depending on what your competitors in your area are doing and what your follow-up style is with customers. So for example, if you tend to let people do their own thing and let them contact you when they're ready, you might not want to do a forced registration at all. But if you are more aggressive and tend to call people back immediately, then you would want to probably do a forced registration. And you do have the option of customizing the message that shows up on this pop-up. So that's one of the options here. You would just select custom, and then you can enter whatever you want here. And we actually have what we call a WYSIWYG editor. What you see is what you get, that allows you some formatting buttons here. Or you can turn that off and just enter HTML if that's your preference. I know that I will get questions about this third-party website URL. Most of you are not going to use that, but what it is for is, let's say you have used our API and created a custom search form, and you want people, or created a custom registration form, and maybe you're sending to a third-party service, and you want to direct people to that registration form, you would just enter the URL for that page right here. Some other items to note on this page, you actually can do this separately for each type of page. And there's, other than a force, there's also a request option. Request means that they can actually close the pop-up and skip this and just continue going. And that can be recurring or non-recurring, meaning you could do it every 3 pages, or you could just do it once after 3 pages and not have it pop up again. I personally find the request a little irritating because it usually is set to recurring, and people either get irritated and give in or go away to a different website that doesn't have that pop up. So I actually find the force to be more useful, but that again is going to depend on your follow-up style and your market. And of course, you can do this differently for different types of pages. Most of the primary types of pages are in here: photo gallery, details, results, map search, and just your regular search pages. If you are on original, or excuse me, if you are on platinum rather than light, you do have the option of doing a lot of these at the page level. So if you have multiple search forms, you could do it you could have it different for every search form, but that's only going to be available for platinum users. That won't be available on light. So those are the primary ways that leads are generated in the first place. There are a couple of other tools. There's a general contact form, and there is a home valuation request. So if you are, say, a seller's agent, you might make that page available. And all of those, of course, will also collect lead information. But those are the primary ways to do it. So now that we know how leads are usually collected, Let's look at what we can learn about them once they're in here. Our primary screen is going to be leads in the main menu, leads in the submenu, and then manage. That's going to give us a list of our leads. And this will be anybody that has filled out a form on your IDX pages on your website. Oh, sorry, I have a question about pages. So the way that the list we were just looking at is designs in the main menu and pages in the submenu. So on this page, we'll see a few items. One, you can actually filter the list you're looking at. If you're an office account, you can filter it by the agent assigned to the lead. You can choose their category, which is corresponding to whatever form they actually filled out when they signed up. You'll see a lot of options here, like do they have a saved search, have they subscribed to email updates, that kind of thing. So you can filter this list, and you can also just search for a specific email address here. When we look at the actual list of leads, we get a little bit of information. So we have flag. This is not anything that's set automatically. This is just something that you can hit to tell yourself that, hey, this is a lead I want to keep close track of. I'm going to star them so that I can come back to them later and know who I'm looking for. And you can, of course, sort by that field. So you could have your flagged leads show up first if you wanted to. Sign up gives us the date that we first collected information about that lead. Name and email, pretty obvious. Email address is pretty important because we're not going to create multiple records for the same email address. That is the defining piece of information that we use to say, this is the lead. If they do other activities in the future that we're collecting, we're going to tie it to that lead record based on that email address. We can have multiple records with the same name, but not the same email address. Then we have two columns here, S and P. S is for saved searches. So this is going to let us know if somebody has actually saved a search for email updates. I've only got one on here with a saved search as a demo account. Properties, that would just give you the number of properties they had marked as favorites. Status is definitely worth looking at. There are 4 that you can expect to see. Verified means they have gotten the email that we sent, once they signed up and said, they've actually clicked on the link to verify their email address. So we know they are a good lead there. No account refers to somebody who has filled out a contact form but hasn't saved searches or properties or created an actual account. So their information has been collected, but they're not going to actually be logging in at your website to look at their list of properties or getting email updates. If you want to create an account for one of these types of leads, all you do is click where it says no account, and it will give you a pop-up. And when you hit activate account there, what that's going to do is send them an email with their username and password, and it will then say verified in their status column. Unverified means they haven't taken any action on that email. One that you don't see in this list that you might see on occasion is disabled, and that means that the lead has not had any activity and for X number of days, and that they are not going to be getting email updates or things like that. Last update refers to the last time there was an email update sent to them with new properties. Last activity is the last time we know they've been to the website. Agent, of course, is going to be assigned agent. And then tools. Tools is going to be login as the lead if you want to actually see what they see. Lead info just lets you edit their information. Notes, delete, and then for anybody who is verified with an account here, you'll also have a envelope icon that will let you send their credentials to them. Before moving on into actually editing a lead, I'm going to review some of the questions that have come in the last couple of moments. Regarding email updates for people who have multiple saved searches, yes, they can get emails. They can get updates on multiple saved searches. What will happen is we will only send them one email per day. We won't send them separate emails for each saved search, but there will be visual divisions within that email that separate those searches out. So they'll have, 5 sample updates, 5 sample listings for each saved search within that email that goes out to them. Regarding top producer CRM, let's see. That is a good item to look at, and possibly we want to, yeah, we can go ahead and look at that actually. So this is also in the leads menu, and it's under the lead registration preferences and the CRM integration tag. To set up a push to top producer or to Tribus, you would just set this to yes. And then with top producer, you do have to actually go to top producer and set up a lead provider there. Once you do so, it'll ask you for the lead provider name. You would select IDX Broker Platinum. It'll ask you for a username and password. Don't use the username and password provided by top producer. Use what's provided right here. That's what you're going to need to set up that lead provider. And from then, any new leads created just get pushed to top producer. They do sometimes have a queue, so I've seen it take anywhere from 2 minutes to 2 hours for a lead to show up in top producer. It varies a little bit, but that is how you would set that up. With the Tribus group, you would need your user ID to just paste into your IDX account. And we also have some help topics on those. You would just click these gray question mark icons, and it'll take you to the help topics for those. Let's see, another item under lead registration preferences is, so the email verification we mentioned, we were looking at the statuses. So you do actually have the option to customize that verification message a little bit, as well as the thank you page that shows up right after they've signed up and before they've actually received the email. So on either one of these, you would select custom, and then much like we were looking at on the pop-up, you have the option of entering a custom message there. You'll also see on that same page conversion tracking codes. So if you have analytics or something like that and they've given you conversion code, this is where you would paste it in. That is under lead registration preferences, and then thank you page. It'll give you the option to just paste that in. And then email verification, you can change these as well. You have some control over the subject line as well as most of the message, but you don't have the option of changing the line that actually says, please click this link. That's going to be in there always. So, but everything before that you can change. And you also have a little bit of control over the greeting that shows up, whether you just greet them by their first name or their first name and last name. And a few questions. Let's see. Let me see what the best order to answer these in will be. Okay, so I'm going to go back to, because I do have several questions about this page, I'm going to go back to our lead screen, and we want to look at the individual leads anyway. As far as the verification status goes, verified just means either you entered this lead yourself, which we'll be looking at shortly, how to actually manually enter a lead, or that they got that verification email that we sent and they clicked on the link acknowledging that it was a good email address and they do in fact want to communicate with us. Part of the reason we have that in place is because of the CAN-SPAM Act. Some of those rules have changed, so in the future we might be able to bypass that entirely, but currently it's always going to send that verification email unless you've entered that lead manually. The disabled status only shows up if somebody's been totally inactive or you have manually set them to disabled, which is one of the options that you have when you're editing an individual lead. So you won't see disabled just because somebody has decided they don't want email updates. And as far as why would you send credentials, possibly because you have a lead that, well, maybe they're not terribly tech savvy and they asked you to set an account up on their behalf or something like that, or because they've simply forgotten their credentials. That's a fairly common occurrence for somebody to lose their password or something like that. So let's look at editing an individual lead. We would hit this pencil icon for lead info. And it'll give us several tabs here. Traffic history is going to be any traffic history we can associate with that lead. And that may require them to be logged in. It kind of depends on if we can tie them to an IP address or not. Most people have a tendency to use 3 devices or more, a home computer, a work computer, a mobile device. So we can't always associate a lead with a specific IP address. But if we can track their history and if they've been logged in, we'll have that here. Property updates is just going to, I'm going to go back to a different lead actually that might be a better example. Well, okay, sorry about that. Property updates, this is just going to be a record of what they've actually clicked on from the emails sent to them. So if they've been receiving email updates and they've actually clicked on one of those properties within that email, it's going to record that information here so you can see the ones they've been looking at. Saved properties is just going to be a list of their saved properties. Same for saved searches. This will let you view the results of a saved search or just the new results. And you also have the ability, by clicking Add, Edit, Save Searches, to edit an existing one or create a new one. And you would just give it a name. And then hit Save Changes, and that does sign them up for email updates. Edit lead may be other than saving searches and properties, which we'll actually look at a second time when we add a new lead. Edit lead is probably the most important tab on here because it's going to have all their contact information that we've collected. It's also, if you wanted to disable somebody, you could, which means they can't log in with their current login information. We're not going to try to send them email updates. And you can change the agent, change how they get their emails, that kind of thing. And then notes just lets us know what they've done, what their past activity was. So if, when somebody does a new sign-up, one of the things we do is we collect the information from that sign-up form. That goes into an email as well. So that's getting emailed either to the account holder or the assigned agent. And also we are recording down here at the bottom the last page they viewed prior to signing up. And that won't always apply, especially if somebody ends up right on a sign-up form rather than coming from a details page or something like that. But when that information is available, you'll see that here in that first note. Reviewing one more time just because I did get a couple of questions about it when we're looking at this list here. If somebody has this no account here, that means they didn't sign up, so they haven't saved a property or search. It means that they have maybe submitted a contact form or a more information request. So it's not really creating an account for them, it's just collecting their information. And so when we hit no account on their status, it gives us the option to create an account for them and send them their login information. Do leads have to save a search to receive property updates, or can they be automatically subscribed based on their last search? They cannot be automatically subscribed. Again, that is a spam concern. We want to make sure somebody actually asks for emails before we start sending them, since those do have the potential to show up in their inbox every single day. But you can add emails on their behalf. Or you can add saved searches and sign them up for email updates on their behalf if desired. Yes, and as far as assigning a lead to an agent, that does actually send an email to that agent letting them know that a lead has been assigned to them. So let's look at how we might add a lead. This is going to be leads in the main menu, leads in the submenu, and then create. And here, this is a pretty straightforward form. We just type in the name of the lead. All it's required is going to be the first name and the email address, but those will absolutely be required. Password, you may see something a little different here. So right now I have password as a hidden field on my registration form just as part of my options, which we can look at a little more momentarily. But if you have it hidden, it's not going to show up on this page either. And so you would not be able to create a password if you have password hidden on your sign-up form. And then we would just save that lead. And then, of course, once you have a lead in here, we can go to that lead info icon, and we can do things like add saved properties just by entering a MLS number. Or we can add saved searches. In a lot of areas of the account, you're going to see this similar pages icon or button up at the top right that'll let you get to other types of pages a little more quickly. And of course, you can always just go back to your list of leads if you need to. Now, when you do add a saved search to a lead, that does sign them up for emails. But there are a couple of caveats there. One, they do have to be verified. If you created that lead yourself, they're automatically verified. So if they have a saved search and they're a verified lead and they haven't specifically opted out of email updates, they'll be getting those. You can opt people out of email updates and still have a saved search on there if desired. The way that that works, let's take a look at the saved searches for this test lead. You'll see this receive updates column, and if you hover over it, you'll get a pencil icon. You can select no for any saved search there, and that will opt them out so that they still have the saved search. They can still come review it when they see fit. They'll see it when they're logged in, or they can, they can opt back in later if desired. And what they see when they log in. I'm just going to go ahead and log in as this lead. We get some different options here. Perform a search, view my account, my saved searches, my saved properties. And so they can get to those from there. And they'll have a lot of different options here. My searches are very general, and I've got multiple MLSs on this account, so I've got lots of links for each saved search. But they'll have a few options for each search as far as viewing new listings from just today, new listings from the last week, or absolutely all listings for that search. There is not going to be a way to, so this is another response to a question that's come in that several people may have. Can all new properties added to a website be sent to all leads? No. Now, you can, on the other hand, for any individual lead, when you're creating a saved search for them, I'm just going to go through the add a save search process here. It first asks you what type of search form you want to use. Usually you're going to use your advanced search. Depending on the age of your account, it might be called Homes. It'll probably be titled Advanced Search, but that's usually the search form you want. And there is a field under Additional Filter Options for maximum days listed. And so if you wanted to sign somebody up for email updates with all new properties, you would select nothing else on the search form. And I would usually say don't enter a 1 here, enter a 2, because that's going to give you the best results. And then you can save that search for them. Or you could actually, you don't even need to do that. You could just, because it's only going to send new listings anyway, so you could just enter a blank search for them with whatever property type or whatever else they were interested in. I have a good question from Chip about naming a saved search at the time of creation. You can as the agent, but you're right, the lead doesn't really have the ability to give it a name at the time of saving it. That is another item I can review afterward and consider adding as a feature request, and we'll see if that's possible. I'm going to go back to, all right, so creating a lead I don't think is, going to be a problem for most people. Pretty straightforward process. We looked at the manage. Let's look at import. So the import is a little more complex, but if you have a list of leads that you have exported from some other system, maybe a different IDX system, you might want to import those into your IDX account. You can do that. It would have to be in a spreadsheet or a CSV, and it would have to be these field names that we define here. These are the only ones we can support as far as importing leads. But you would just take your spreadsheet that you have from your other service and update the names or the column headers in that top row to match what we have here, and then you just hit browse to upload it. So you can do that. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to import things like saved search links or anything like that right now. It's just these right here that are supported. I'm going to briefly look back at lead registration preferences because we went primarily to the registration rules rather than some of these other options here. This page, the first page you see here is the sign up page options, and it will let you choose what fields you want to display. So anything you don't want here, you can hit the garbage can icon for. You can choose whether you're going to display that CAPTCHA form or not. If you're getting spam, if you're getting a lot of spam, you actually have the option of turning off all submissions that don't come from North America. So that's just a yes-no toggle here. If you want to block them, you would hit yes. If you don't want to block them, you would hit no. And then we also have the option of adding additional fields. So we can choose other fields from here. Maybe I want phone number. Or maybe I want something entirely different that isn't in this list. I can select other when I'm adding a field. And I can choose whether it's going to be required or not, and add that to my sign-up form, and that will then show up. If it's a field that we don't actually have in our system, if it's just a random field you've created, it'll show up in the notes. It won't show up as a new field on that lead screen other than in their notes. We did look briefly at the thank you page already. Email verification, again, this is the email that goes out to them, and you can customize those messages if desired. CRM integration, top producer, and Tribus. Cleanup, this relates to the disabled leads. So if you actually have the option of not doing any kind of automatic lead disabling at all. And in fact, it's off by default. But you can also say, yes, I want to mark leads that have not showed up in at least 120 days as disabled, or I want to delete some leads entirely if they just are not coming to the site. These are off by default, but you can come in and change those settings if desired. Contact routing. This is only going to apply to those of you that have office accounts, but it's still worth looking at because we do have some options for automatically assigning leads that come in to specific agents. What mine is set up as right now is what we call round robin, and that means that the different agents on the account, they basically just rotate. So if a lead signs up, they just go to the next agent on the list, and that's who they get assigned to. But there are other options. Core fields is the default, and this is what's going to work for most people. That means that the lead is going to go to the agent that they are assigned to or cookied with, or they can be assigned to an agent based on oh, sorry, let me actually save that change. They could be assigned to an agent based on something like location. Maybe we want all requests about information for properties in Eugene to go to a specific agent. You can actually create those here. And it just lets you select the agent in question and the area, price range, or anything else that you want assigned to that agent. Another item worth looking at here is disabled. So you can actually disable contact routing if you have an office account, and that will let you send all contacts that come in from leads to yourself or to the primary account holder rather than to the assigned agent. So you can actually disable sending any lead notification emails to your agents and just have everything come to you. So that is an option. And then finally in this area, we have exports. An export is just going to be a spreadsheet that has the lead information, and you can save that. You can maybe import it into a different program, or you can just keep it for your records. or even, let's say you have more than one IDX account, you want to move information from one account to the other, you could use an export-import for that. And you can choose what fields you're going to include in the export. You can filter by categories, agents, etc. If you want all of your leads, don't select anything in this refinement area here. Just leave all of that set to all if you want everything. And because you can save, there's also, you can actually set up an export and save your criteria so that you can run that same export later. And then when you want to get to those, you would go to exports and then manage, and it would show you those there. Let's see, regarding personalizing the subject line in the credentials email, I don't currently have a way to do that, I believe. Let's see. No, I don't. And regarding if we disable the leads from being dispersed to agents and broker wants all leads to go to one email address. So the email address, when we say that we've disabled leads and everything's going to go to the primary, that is actually under account and then account info. And this also manages correspondence from us. We would typically send that to the primary email address as well. And that is right here in the second portion of that page under account and then account info. So if contact routing is disabled, that's where everything's going to go. So I think the last item that I would want to direct anybody's attention to is that their lead management system here, there's some great lead generation tools. The lead management tools are not a full-fledged CRM, so it's not a full customer relationship system. You can hook into Tribus or Top Producer and actually push the lead information from your IDX account into Tribus or Top Producer. If you have a different system you're using and you have development resources and want to build out a connection between the two, you actually can. That'll be a little more advanced development, but you would want to go to Home in the main menu and then API key control in the submenu. This will actually give you some information about setting up a connection between those with custom development. I've got the technical documentation right here under API documentation. And also you would get the key that you would need right here as well. So if you wanted to develop something custom, you could do that right there. So those are the primary items that I wanted to look at today. I'm just going to keep the floor open for a few moments here and see what other questions we get coming in. I've had a lot of good questions today. And I apologize if I missed anybody. Send your feature requests and any problems you're having with your account to help@idxbroker.com, and we will do our best to get it working the way you need. You can also give us a call if that's preferred, 1-800-421-9668. And in the meantime, I will just be reviewing any other questions that come in. Okay, so going back to these statuses. Verified, so unverified just means that this person has signed up for an account. They went to the website, they saved a search or a property, or they went through that email updates process sign-up form. And when they got that email asking them to just click the link and verify their email address, they have not done so. And so we we don't throw the lead out, but we have them in here as unverified. The only functional difference between somebody who is in here as verified versus unverified is that we're not going to attempt to send any email updates to somebody who has a status of unverified. If you get an unverified lead and you're confident that it's good, just click on the status and that will update it to verified. So you can actually verify somebody manually if you want to. If you have added them yourself from this create area, they're going to go in as automatically verified, and you don't have to worry about that. Let's see. How do we tell what a lead is looking at? I know I don't have the best examples in here on my demo account, but there are a couple of ways. So the first is you'll see these saved properties and saved searches columns. And you can go there and you can see what properties they've saved and what searches they've saved. There is also the notes, which will show us their most recent link after prior to their sign up, so we can see what property or results page they were viewing before signing up. And if we're lucky and they have a consistent IP address here, we can also go for their traffic history. I don't have any for this particular lead, but what it would look like is the same thing, the traffic stats for the account as a whole, which is home in the main menu, traffic stats in the submenu. And we can actually view every page hit. If a lead is logged in when they hit a page and we are under home and traffic stats, and we're looking at the account as a whole, there will actually be a lead name field here, and it will show you the name of the lead that hit that page and let you link to them. And you can also, if you need better traffic data or more analytics, you can actually use third-party services like Google Analytics or StatCounter in combination with your IDX account. You would just paste the code they give you right into the wrapper on your account, which is, probably most of you may not be working with these, but it's under designs in the main menu, wrappers in the submenu. This is what controls the appearance of your IDX pages. You just paste it in right here according to whatever instructions your provider gave you. Imported leads, I believe, should be automatically verified, yes, because that's basically a manually created lead. So those should be automatically verified. And if at any time they are not, feel free to send our support team an email and we'll take a look and try and get that changed. Great question, actually, about lead registration preferences, global registration rules. What's been most effective historically? So the stats that I have collected, we actually collected on the original platform, but there's no reason that shouldn't transfer to Platinum, that the same shouldn't be effective. In my experience, what's most effective on me, and which works for a lot of people, is what we were looking at earlier, doing a forced registration on details pages after 2 or 3 pages. But what has also surprisingly been very effective for people, which I would not have expected, is doing a request registration on results pages. And that, I believe, was a recurring request after every 3 or 4 pages. So it just, they can skip it, but it'll come back up as they page through the results for a search. I wouldn't have expected that to be as effective as it was, but the stats for that are pretty good. So you can do that as well. And then, of course, you can also consider doing photo galleries if you want to, because everybody wants to look at photos, and you could force people to register to look at photos. All right, so floor is still open. I'm going to give it a few more moments in case anybody has any additional questions. And I do want to remind everybody that we do have our help system. It's you can get to it from idxbroker.com, or you can go directly to kb.idxbroker.com. That's KB as in knowledge base. And also, we have a great YouTube channel, which is where this is going to show up, along with several other webinars that we have recorded. And you would just go to YouTube and search for IDX Broker. Let's see, can agent image create the link to ACT CRM? I am not terribly familiar with ACT. They theoretically can using the API, but I would reckon they'd be charging for that work, so you'd want to bring that up with them and consult and see what services they're willing to do, because that would be custom development, because they would be having to do that with the API. Let's see, frequency of email updates to leads. There is a limited ability. Let's see. This is under Preferences in the main menu, Global Preferences, and then Email Settings. So we actually do have some settings here that you can change. These are global. It would apply to every single lead. You can change the reply to address that shows up. We are discouraging people from using Yahoo or AOL email addresses as often as possible, because they have a policy where if they see something coming from an address that doesn't originate on the Yahoo or AOL servers, they'll actually reject those. So we try to discourage people from using those. If you have a Gmail or any other third-party service, those are usually going to be more reliable. You can change the subject line of the email update, not the verification email, but not the credentials email like somebody was asking about earlier. This would just be the property update, so you can actually change that subject line if desired. You can request to get a carbon copy or a summary of every single email update that goes out to your leads on a daily basis, and you can tell it where you want that sent. And for property update frequency, daily, weekly, and never are your options. There's not going to be anything more fine-tuned than that. You'll also have the option to send yourself a sample email if you ever want to check those out, and you can do a custom signature. These other settings down here, in case anyone is curious, not directly related, but you can have a carbon copy address where every single lead notification goes. So maybe you don't want to disable lead routing, but you still want to get a copy of every single lead notification. You can do that right here. You can tell it that you want it to send a CC. And you can also specify specific people to specific types of forms. Maybe you have one selling agent and you want every single valuation request to go to one person. You could put that here. I've gotten a lot of great feature requests in the question box. I won't be able to address those during the webinar, but I will have a printout of all the questions and requests sent over to me during the webinar, so I can go through those afterward and get those in, and I'll see if I can get any of those accomplished. All right, so we are coming up on an hour here. I am going to, just leave the line open for a couple of moments in case we have any last questions coming in. Otherwise, you will see a recording of this on our YouTube channel in the near future. And I really appreciate everybody coming. Okay, looks like most people are signing off at this point, so I'm going to do so as well. Again, thank you so much for coming. You can get in touch with us at 1-800-421-9668 or help, HELP, at idxbroker.com, and always at kb.idxbroker.com for our help system. You'll have a wonderful afternoon, and thank you so much.